Hello and welcome to So Divine Conversations. I'm Megan Skinner.
And I'm Stephanie Gailing.
And this is our mid-month podcast where we have a conversation. We dig into a theme or a topic that we feel is relevant for the time, all with an eye towards inspiration and helping you to lead a more conscious life. So hello, Stephanie.
Hello, Miss Megan.
So for our conversation this month, we decided on the theme of new beginnings. I think this is something that we're all looking for right now, is some fresh starts, some new beginnings. And of course, this month on the 20th, we have the equinox. So spring springs eternal, hope springs eternal. So let's dig into what new beginnings and fresh starts could mean for everybody.
Yeah. And I mean, it just sort of feels like we're on the advent on that, or the brink of that, excuse me, right? Like here we are about a week plus away from the equinox. And even for those living down under, right, where it's going to be fall, it still is that shift of season.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it always feels like, especially moving up to it, that like right around the corner, right, there's something that is fresh. And I think the thing for all of us too is when you know that there is the invitation for a new beginning coming soon, how do you orient? You know, I think it's one thing to say, like, I want a fresh beginning. I want a new beginning. That's one thing. But also when you feel like it's right over there, like, how do you get yourself ready for that?
Yeah, I think that, I think that it's like I almost feel cautious, as we're talking, like, and this is why I say, like, hope springs eternal is, I think so many of us are just so antsy and for, some new energy and some new movement. And, we talked a little bit about this in our So Divine monthly forecast about, with the equinox, we're also shifting into the Aries energy, which is fire and forward movement. And we also have Venus in Aries. So hopefully as we get more into the month, we're just energetically and astrologically going to start feeling that movement. Now, I know that and I think this is true for a lot of people out there, is we're starting to feel some shifts. This may sound silly, but even like the other day, I ventured out and got a pedicure. And it was just the idea of like, I had my mask on, all of that, took all the precautions, but I thought, I need to get out in the world. I need to do something fresh. I need to do something to kind of welcome in the new energies. But I think there is a hesitation there. Like, dare we believe, dare we invest, in forward movement? Because it can all be taken away. A year ago at this time, everything was going into lockdown. So, maybe let's talk a little bit about that fear about investing in a fresh start.
Yeah. I mean, and it's so timely, this conversation we're having, right? The day after President Biden gave his address and basically saying, now I'm inviting all states to vaccinate, make eligible everybody over 18, with this sort of eye towards July 4th that we could maybe gather in small groups. But still him voicing and all of us voicing, or not all of us, a lot of people voicing like, this is what we're on track of, this new beginning. But at any moment, right, because there's so many factors involved, it can shift, it can change, especially here we are in this year of Saturn Uranus, right? Staying bouncy.
Yes,
we don't know that there's a clear trajectory. But I also feel too, right? Like we're hesitant. There's a fear to be like, could this be possible? Could I go hug my friend who's vaccinated? Could I go see my family? Can I go do some of those things that I miss doing? And do I allow myself to like even be in that possibility with the fear of like, it can be taken away? But I would say too, it's like, be thoughtful and cautious and be in the moment. Also, Aries teaches us be in the moment, right? And so even if it ends up being, and hopefully this is not true, right? But like, sort of those parallel tracks of like, you have a window of time, you go see your friend and you give them a hug, right? And you hang out and you do some things that would bring you joy. And then we have to sort of go back a little bit. at least you did that. We did that rather than being like, well, I don't know if I should open my heart to that because it might get taken away. At least you had that experience, right? And then we pivot and we pivot and we pivot. So I think that it's cautiously having hope, but also
Yeah.
seeing like what even do you, after last year and everything being like stripped away, how are you creating even bigger new beginnings for yourself now?
Yeah, I think you've brought up something really important, which is the idea of staying in the moment. And, maybe that's something that we all learned, over the last year is, a different concept of what is secure and what is
Yes.
comfortable and what is sustainable. And so I think the beauty perhaps of new beginnings is, it does put us in the moment. And I think that's something we learned, to be, as we say, stay bouncy or be in the moment, to be better at. At least I feel like I've grown so much about not attaching to outcomes, not forward thinking, not, being too out there, just really like staying so present to what's happening in the moment. And maybe that's a great mindset as we go into these new beginnings.
Yeah, right. Because it's like this new beginning and a new horizon and where we might want to go. But yet, I think it's also part and parcel of the moment, and every moment
Mm-hmm.
has its own seed of a new beginning, right? To
Yeah.
be in. And just the feeling of something different. I mean, this is all very different. Last year was very different, but this is very different. But it feels like, how do you also, I think this is where intention comes into play, right? Like, if you want to start again, right? Or plant new seeds, and spring is such a good time to do that. What seeds what do you want to sprout? What is it that you want to blossom, right?
Yeah.
Not just be like, okay, just whatever happens. Like, no, how do you want to carve out,
Mhm.
as you can with what's within your control, what new cycle you want to invite in?
Yeah. Yeah. I think intentional is really good. And, the idea of the seeds, and I mean, because we're not going back to anything. I think that's part of our idea with like new beginnings. It's not like, let's get back to the way things were. And we've all let go of this idea of normal and all of that. So it's not repeat, it's not rinse and repeat. It's like, okay, what do I want to create next with the energies
Yeah.
the way that they are? And, as you're talking, Stephanie, about seeds, what it's going through my mind is, of course, I think in the language of tarot and tarot cards and those archetypes is the element of aces in the tarot. And
Mm.
the aces in the tarot and the minor arcana, and of course the minor arcana has four suits, fire, air, water, earth. And each of the aces represent the very seed or the primal energy of the element. Like the ace of wands is the seed of fire. And what they talk about when you're in an ace energy, which is a fresh start, new beginning energy, it's movement, it's very creative energy, is that you really do have to stay present in that movement, in that rebirth. And the thing about an ace is it's not a 2, it's not a 3, it's not a 9. We don't know how that ace is going to play out. We don't know where it's going to go. What it does offer is this very rich opportunity and this fertile ground to plant that seed. And as you're saying, to be intentional of creating something new. But what they talk about here is it is in the moment. It is the primal element of that. And we don't know how it's going to play out. And to me, that's kind of exciting in a way. If we can kind of wrap our brains around, not having expectations and being intentional, well, it'll be really interesting to see how some of our new beginnings do play out.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful, right? That being present with that ace and that ace energy, right? And I think too, like not worrying about the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, on and on, right? Because you're not there yet. Like in the beginning, we're not there yet. We may have our sights set. We may, lead with intention. But I think also one of the things we all learned last year is just like, there's certain things we can control and there's certain things we can't control. right? But in that moment of that ace, if I'm also hearing this correctly, or that ace says that new beginning, like we can have control of our intention
Yeah. Yeah.
and seed that moment with it.
Yeah. I also think, it's interesting just to look at this astrologically from the different signs of the zodiac, because I think that there's different signs that are more comfortable with change than others. Like here we are going into this season of Aries with the sun in Aries, Venus in Aries. Of course, Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, is happy to be in that energy of
Completely.
pioneering and the new beginnings and the exploration. And I think there's other signs, that perhaps are a little less comfortable in like a new beginning. Let's see how it all plays out.
Yes, exactly. Like Taurus, speaking as a person with a Taurus moon, right? Like that new beginning, Taurus loves to be in rhythm, right? And
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
continuity or continuousness. So that like fresh start can takes a little bit of time for signs like Taurus. But I think that we are, as we're moving into this Aries season with the sun in Aries, with Venus still soon moving into Aries. I think a month later, Mercury will be there, like to take advantage of that. And
Yeah.
I think also Aries, in addition to, like you say, being pioneering, it invokes within us the call for courage. And I think it takes
Mm.
courage to be in that new beginning, not knowing like, will I get where I want to go or what will actually manifest, right? But I am aligned with the intention, and to pull in that Aryan courage of like, I can make this. This will happen no matter what, right? And to feel brave in that new beginning and
Yeah.
embarking on that.
Yeah, I think it does take a courageous mindset to be in those new beginnings. But it's interesting as we're talking more about this. I do get excited.
Me too.
I can almost like as we're talking, start to feel it a little bit in my body and in my system of like, maybe some more forward movement and being able to kind of initiate things again, where before there was no room for that kind of initiation. And I also think, and you mentioned this, we've talked about this in our in our other podcast, is that Saturn square Uranus. Some of that Uranus energy is really inspiring us to not get attached
Yeah.
to outcomes or the way things the way things should be. And when I also think about that Uranus energy, I think about leave some room for surprises, some lovely surprises, expect the unexpected. And I think oftentimes as we're planning for the future and we're looking at what's next, I say that with a heavy voice, we tend to get kind of caught up in creating that timeline or creating that structure and not, leaving room for whether you want to call it divine intervention or, some higher aspects of life and self to kind of come in there and juice up the energy in ways that maybe we can't even like conceive of
Yeah.
because it is a new beginning.
Yeah, so important, right? And that whole notion too that it doesn't, not knowing how, staying bouncy with that Saturn Uranus and not knowing like what might get thrown our way or which direction it may go or what detours we may have doesn't preclude us from reveling in the feeling of the
Mm,
new beginning, right? They
mhm.
don't have to be together. It doesn't have to have certainty, and new beginnings don't have to go together, right?
Yeah.
So I think that that's really, really important. And there was something else. Oh, yeah. I was thinking too, right? And we've sort of touched on it, but I want to speak to it again. It's not just this individual new beginnings, it's this collective new beginnings. Like to your point, like there's no there back there. Like we're not going back anywhere. We are all starting fresh, on a collective community, political worldview perspective. And that is neutrally, that's really exciting because also we saw how the old did not work.
Yeah.
Right. But yet it does, I think it can be nerve wracking for some people because it's like, okay, yeah, that didn't work, but I knew that thing. Right. So now it's like, again, it's that courage, right? That courage
Yeah.
to know. It's very Plutonian, like releasing that which doesn't work and has reached its expiration date and just being in faith and awe and courage and aligned in intention of what a new beginning can yield.
Yeah, I love this, Stephanie, because I think what you're saying is that new beginnings doesn't have baggage. I mean, it like the truest sense is there's no baggage with a new beginning, and that's hence a new beginning. But also, you're as you're speaking to the collective, and we are in this new energetic paradigm that we're shifting into, whether you want to call it, the age of Aquarius, or, the age of energy, or the age of air, whatever the terminology is that we are in new energies. We really have started shifting into them this year. And it does allow us this opportunity to really be innovative and to not have that baggage, because like you said, last year, what was not working became very apparent. And even though it's so easy to stay stuck because it's comfortable maybe to be in the known, that I think collectively to like shift the energy of the planet and to move forward, we've all got to get really innovative and let go of the past and start creating from this new space intentionally as a collective. Like, what do we want for the planet, and what does that mean? And just even thinking about, how can I be different in the day to day, in the moment, a moment where before I might have done this, now I don't do that
Yeah.
anymore, because I have this new mindset of what the planet needs to survive and thrive.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think part of the invitation that we have for that, right, is as individuals, but with Saturn in Aquarius, is banding together with others,
Yeah.
right, to come together, to speak out, to create an architecture for our vision of what a new beginning that is equitable, just, sustainable, full of compassion, or whatever other your values are, and working with a community to start to seed that,
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
deeper level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think that, yeah, it's always this reminder. I forget my Leo rising, is always gets things. Oh, it's all about me. The world revolves around me. I'm like, oh, that's right. We, we're a part of a collective, and I think that's a lovely reminder that we're creating this together.
yeah.
You
But
know,
both. I mean, both individual. I think that not to not talk about the power of the individual, right? But also that invitation.
yeah,
The other thought that I had too is, if we are looking to see how can we exercise and have more faith in our, like, can do a new beginning muscle, if you will, is
mm,
that every month we get a reminder, or we can have an exercise, which is
mm,
following the lunar cycle. Every month there is a new moon. It
yes,
begins again. And so maybe the days around the new moon, right before the moon is new, when it's balsamic, and we are releasing and we are letting go. And then as the moon becomes new, like noticing that energy, right? Whether it's like little verve or spark or sparkle, or just this invitation for planting a seed, and really tuning yourself into that energetic flow in the
mm,
new moon, perhaps also making intentions, right? And sort
mm.
of seeing how you can practice. I don't know if practice is the right word, but let's use it anyway. Like, practice or be in alignment with new beginnings on a monthly level that will continue to allow you to have more faith, courage, and flow with that on a bigger level as well.
Yeah, I love working with the energies of the new moon, because that is such a potent time, and there's a rhythm to that, because we have a new moon once a month. The other thing too, I was thinking about as you're talking about, is like every day to some extent is a new
Right.
beginning.
Totally.
It's like,
Completely.
and so maybe like every morning, when you get up, and we talked about this, and we did a Instagram live not too well just yesterday, but we were talking about, the tarot and dreams in that context. But you were talking about how, you pick a card, almost every day, and allow that tarot card to, focus your energy and help you form an attention for
Mhm.
that day. And so I think, every day waking up and taking that moment, taking a couple deep breaths, welcoming in the new day, aligning your energies with the new day, and being intentional, whether it's through a tarot card or a ritual or meditation, and allowing that to really make you present,
Yeah.
in a new way to the new day.
Oh my God, perfect. Perfect. So many, I mean, on some level, right? It's all about new beginnings. Every breath, every day is a new beginning. Every new moon, every breath is a new beginning.
I'm
You
starting to
know,
breathe.
right? Okay, time out to breathe. Collective breath, right? And I think too, like not just right, we're going into Aries season, but as you've reminded us, this like Saturn Uranus square also feels like a big invitation for like being okay with new starts, with new beginnings.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what else anything else that's coming up for you that you think we should share
No,
about this?
I think that, this is just, I think so much of this is, well, I think it's twofold. One, it's about our mindset, and, we kind of started this conversation using the word hope, and, I think it's hope and faith and, faith in the world and faith in yourself and faith in the planet that, that whatever is ahead, there is going to be something in it for all of us. So, I do think it's a mindset of being open, being present, being intentional. And then, I also think it's just opening yourself up to, whatever shows up,
Right.
in that day. And I have to apologize if people hear a little bit of sighing in the background. Speaking of new beginnings, where they're tearing off all the old
Perfect.
siding from my building and they're putting up new siding. So we're in a fresh start with my condominium that I live in. So
That's
apologize
perfect.
for the any background noise, but also being present to meet whatever that opportunity presents itself. And I think that requires an open mind. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So new beginnings and an open mind.
Yes, so perfect. So perfect. So now I would just invite you and me and other everyone listening too to really think about, just as a reflection, like some of the things we've talked about, like how do we feel like what do we feel like when we're at the brink of a new beginning? What
Mm-hmm.
arises for us? Are we excited about that? Are we semi-terrified about that? Are we curious about that? Just to again see what is your relationship to new beginnings?
Yeah.
And also what new beginnings do you want to craft and intend for yourself?
Yeah.
We've been through so much over the last year. Many of us have been through so much in our lifetimes, different stages. And here we are at another moment of a fresh start. What do you want to seed? What do you want to blossom?
Mm-hmm.
And how can you align your actions
Yeah.
and your visions around that intention? So I think that it's a beautiful time as this season's about to shift. And even before that, with all this Pisces energy to like really like, sort of take on that reflection and those queries.
Yeah, I like that, to align. I think that's so important. And also just to know that there may be fear present. A
Right.
lot of times as we're going into new energies and new spaces, as exciting as it may be, anxiety and fear may come up. And it's just learning how to work with that and to not let that shut you down and to stop you. And, if you need to get help and support with that, great. But, I think a lot of times for a lot of us, there's going to be a little trepidation, a little bit of fear, but I think it's all a part of the movement.
Yes. Great. Beautiful.
Well, this has been a juicy new beginning conversation, Stephanie, and I feel inspired to be in this new beginning mindset. And as we're wrapping up, I think this is an opportunity for us to mention that we do have a workshop coming up on the day after the equinox. It's Dreams and the Tro. You can find out more at Stephanie's website or on my website, meganskinner.com. And of course, we always love hearing from you. So don't hesitate to let us know your thoughts or what's on your mind or any conversations you might like us to have. And that's at sodivine.us.
Yes. So thank you, Megan. Big thanks to Nick Patreon, Sebastiano Tecchio for all your help and support in making So Divine come to life. So until next time, here's to your new beginnings.
Here's to new beginnings.